Have you stayed in one of these?
I have.
Pretty sick.
Really sick.
Yep.
I haven't used the stove jack yet, though. Have you guys used the stove?
Yeah.
on it?
Yeah, we're using it wrong the whole time.
Yeah, I was.
How'd you use it?
Oh, I just peeled it. So I just peeled it back, like kind of rolled it back and stuck the jack out. You can see it's got like a little melt mark somewhere.
Oh, gotcha.
But I talked to Andrew, and he's like, "Dude, you're supposed to like cut a slit in that thing," which I should have done. I was in a hurry.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have done that. I would have done it this way. Oh, it's good. You just saved me.
Yeah, Andrew's like, "You just cut a slit in that. Just take your knife and cut an X and run your pipe through the middle of it. It's that same material that won't burn,
Gotcha.
I was like, "Well, shit, Andrew, that makes a lot more sense."
Yeah, we were like sneaking it through something like that.
Right.
We had some branches, kind of like give it a little lean.
Put some mud on there.
Stuccoed it in.
Yes.
Burn
All right.
the house down.
We're rolling.
Oh, we are?
Yeah.
Yep.
So you said you were looking forward all day to being in our podcast studio, huh?
Yes.
That's because the other jobs you had to do today were probably a lot less exciting.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, a lot less exciting.
You-
This is more just like talking hunting.
Yeah.
That's what I'm good at.
Yeah.
The other stuff, not so good at.
Yeah. I'm surprised you're still able to talk after all that.
Yeah, I don't know. I lose my voice. I live most of my life in a solitary lifestyle with not a lot of talking. And then you go do something where you're talking all day, and you're just like, I'm already losing my voice.
Isn't that weird to get into like a job or profession? It's because you love it, especially like, wildlife or, hunting. And then you end up, a position like you're in, you end up talking all the time, right?
Oh,
like,
yeah, exactly.
yeah. I mean, I went into biology for the same reason because I thought, I like to be outside, right?
Yeah.
So, and here I am on a podcast every other week.
Now you two are both motor mouths, huh?
Yeah, I got a joke that goes along with that. You want to hear it?
Yeah.
So this is a biologist joke. How do you tell the difference between an extrovert and an introvert biologist?
How?
The extrovert biologist looks at your shoes when he's talking to you. You guys like that?
Oh, that was great. That was good, clean fun there.
Instead of his own.
It's kind of like a dad joke.
Yeah, it's a dad. I'm a dad. Yeah.
Right.
Well, we're fortunate to have Remi in town today. You just here for the day?
Yeah, just for the day. Just came down and checked things out.
Where you been before?
Where was I? Well, I just recently got this thing worked on.
Yeah, that's kind of the elephant in the room.
Wrist surgery. Yeah. It's like, why is his arm wrapped up? So this is like a temporary splint thing. It's hard on one side, but to move with the swelling. But before that, I was hunting in Hawaii, and then I was in New Zealand earlier this I guess our spring, their fall.
So what happened? Give us the full rundown on your wrist.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've been filming you all day, and I haven't even asked you how you broke your wrist.
Oh, well, I tore all the ligaments, the stuff that makes it move. So I think it was from catching a falling duck is how it started, and then just
That's a
never
cool story,
healed,
right?
Yeah. When you're like, you sky bust a bird, and it's coming in hot, and you're like, yeah, I think I could grab that. And then you realize it was like going 30 miles an hour and weighs 3.5 pounds, and it was just a really bad decision.
Yeah.
And I was wearing I think the thing that messed me up was I was wearing neoprene gloves, and my fingers were separated like this. So I think if I had like that, if I could have locked that grip, I could have grabbed it, but it didn't work out. And then they did a surgery that didn't work, and now this is the second surgery. So
you didn't catch the duck?
No, it hit my hand, and then I think my two middle fingers probably touched my forearm.
Remember
Did you feel immediate pain?
Yeah.
Do you remember we were in Kansas? We had that goose land on us. Good thing we didn't do the same thing and reach up to grab that snow.
We had a big snow goose.
But it's like the first thought in your head, right?
Yeah, you want to reach up and grab it. 'Cause it's really cool. It's like, I grabbed it.
Yeah, that was cool.
So they repaired it once and it didn't take?
Yeah, the surgery didn't go great, and then it had to kind of heal a bit, and then they just repaired it again.
And chances of success look good?
It actually feels it like, because after the last one, it was dislocated for about 3 months after that.
Okay.
So it like I never had any movement in it, so I couldn't move it. I could move my fingers, but I couldn't move my wrist. And now it without just preliminarily, it feels like things are in place. I don't know. It's just I've got a good feeling.
You got a good vibe about it.
So are you a little bit nervous to strap on a archery release and try to draw back for the first time?
I'm really nervous about it. Yep. Yeah. I'm worried. Like I don't want to. One thing I don't want to do is like develop some kind of like target panic or flinch because you're like my whole life now is protecting this hand. And then you're like, now I'm going to strap 70, 80 pounds to it and just like pull back. Because I actually waited until after the season to get the surgery. So it was dislocated for the entire hunting season. And when I draw back, every time it like pop or like it was like I knew I had to get one good draw with it.
Yeah.
And there's one time I was drawing on this antelope and I was just in a weird position, and I draw and I couldn't get it back. Like, oh no, that was a bummer.
You might have to learn to shoot left-handed and just straighten that sucker out and use it as your bow hand, and then your draw hand with your left.
I've been shooting with a mouth tab, and that's been a fun process.
Oh, I bet.
It's pretty difficult, but not as difficult as you'd think.
Because you're just looking like straight down the bow then when your hand's straight, because it's going out straight out the mouth. Like, are you worried like your front teeth's going to rip out?
No, because you're using your molars. You use your teeth to kind of like, it's like the grooves in the thing are your anchor point. But the weird part is like you think about it out here, your peep sight's like way out here. Yeah. And so now you move your head like this and it goes, so you're moving your head and the peep's moving. So you got to line everything. And if your grip isn't perfect when you push out, good luck. You cannot adjust it. And when you get a little bit of wind, it's like, you know when a kite catches the wind, it does that erratic motion before it crashes into the ground? That's what your bow does, because it's like this one piece of string and it's way out here and it just feels like it's nuts. And then I learned to like, it really, I think, puts more emphasis on archery form because I realize like the stuff that you try to get away with and now those little things are exponentially more difficult. Like I had a deer, I was hunting in Hawaii and I had a deer come in and they're coming in on this trail. So I got set up and I drew back and they popped out like way closer than I was thinking, like 10 yards, maybe less, and saw me and spooked off. But the other deer went on the other side of the bush. So they were maybe 30 yards. So I didn't adjust my feet. I just turned my body, and that much torque, like I let go, it kicked the arrow like 8 feet right. Like it was insane. I was like, "Yep, learned a lesson." Like everything has to be perfect.
So I got to know, did you use your same bow? 70 pounds?
No, I because I had to shorten the draw length, and then I lightened the draw weight. So I started out at 50. I've got it about 55 now, and I could shoot I'll probably go to 60. I could shoot 70, but I just don't know if I need to.
Yeah.
Then it's more tinkering and all that stuff. So I think I'll probably set it at 60 and just leave it for the season.
The other question I had was like, how do you release? Like, did you just open your mouth and let it go? Or is there like a means of like back tension? Do you pull your head back and kind of let it pull through?
That's the hard part. I've been like trying like create like a back tension thing. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like, it just like messes with your neck. But you have to just only release your bottom jaw. So if you open your mouth, it's doing both. But if you just drop your bottom jaw, it seems to be more consistent.
Interesting.
What's the tab that you're pulling back with that you put in your mouth?
It's a piece of my binocular harness that
I would have it like tied on.
Yeah, I just cut it, folded over, stitched it.
I already know I'd have target panic so bad. If
That's
I did
what I was wondering.
I would be flinching the whole
Seems
time.
like it would make me more anxious to have to open my mouth.
It like because it's like it's a very conscious shot, and I'm trying to like just relax, and at some point it slips out, and that's like great, but it's really hard to do because sometimes I'd be at full draw and it'd slip a little bit, and then everything's off, and you're like, well, I can't adjust.
You need to get like a full-on mouth guard like you see in football. Just have it like perfectly molded to your teeth, and it's like pressure where like the harder you bite down, like it's releasing.
Oh
your
yeah,
trigger.
that'd be awesome.
I might invent one.
The more you bite down, right?
I think you guys are onto something.
Yeah.
For guys with broken wrists.
Yeah.
Did you ever? I mean, I'm sure you never thought this would happen, but like after it happened, like were you kind of excited and interested in the whole process?
Yeah, I was excited to just try something new, and I've got a friend that showed me the ropes. He shoots permanently with one arm, and I learned a lot. I was very fortunate to kind of learn a lot that way. But yeah, I wish I would have started prior to this. I was like, oh, I'll wait till, and once it's just like, it took a little bit longer and would have been a lot easier to start earlier, but.
Sure.
And you were successful on that Hawaii hunt I saw.
Yep.
Was that your first animal that you shot with that?
I actually shot, I hunted in New Zealand with it as well, and actually got a really good fallow deer, which was pretty incredible. But both the two animals that I took with it are kind of like open country, really hard to sneak on animals, and then to be able to get the mouflon and that fallow buck were pretty sweet. So it gave me a lot of confidence going into this fall hunting season that I should be okay.
So you're gonna hunt this fall with it?
Yeah, I'll have to.
Okay.
Yep.
Same setup then.
Yep. Same.
How much do you practice with it?
Pretty much every day.
Every day.
Yeah.
It's gonna be kind of weird, like belly crawling and have to grab your bow and then stand up and.
Yeah, the nice thing though, like if I can, I'll be able to use this hand enough to range, so you can like actually range at full draw, which is nice.
Oh yeah,
there you go.
If your peep turns sideways, you can adjust the peep.
Yeah.
You know, like
I don't know. The more he talks about, there might be some real benefits to just.
You might be able to draw laying flat on your back. Push it out and just sit up.
Yep.
Man, that's cool.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah, I never thought about having to try that.
Yeah, hopefully you don't have to, but it is an option.
Mm-hmm.
How many archery hunts do you have this fall?
Quite a few. I mean, I've got a couple pronghorn hunts, Nevada mule deer tag, and then just a couple elk and deer tags, Montana, Idaho kind of thing.
So you still a resident in Nevada?
Yep.
Live in Reno full time?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the draw. It's a good state to be a resident if you're a resident. As a non-resident, It's real frustrating.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, it's really nice because it's like, all right, you at least know you'll draw archery deer tag somewhere, and I mean that's probably, I would say, one of my favorite hunts to go on out of any hunt. So it's nice to be able to know that you can kind of secure that.
I saw a picture you posted the other day of a giant mule deer buck that you killed. What year was that?
That was 2008, I think.
Is that a Nevada buck?
That was Montana.
Yep. Jeez. That thing is so heavy.
Yeah.
Heavy everywhere.
Yep, just like big, heavy front. Just mass everywhere.
What's the story on it?
That one, I actually, I drew a special tag and had heard about that deer in a particular area. And, it was like one of those, like, oh, there's a rumor of a big buck, but you're like, okay, there's rumors of big bucks.
Sure.
I don't know how many times I actually ran into this one guy once, and he's like, the biggest deer of my life, just freaking out. He's like, it's right here. And he's like, do you have a tag? I'm like, yeah, I got a tag. So I go to look, and I'm like looking at this deer, and I'm like, I'm pretty good at spotting things, and he's just like freaking out. He's like, it's 300 yards away, right there. Bet it down. Like, you see it? I'm like, yeah. And it's just like this inside the ears 3x3.
Just giant for him.
And like he's talking about this deer like it's, like a 220 inch buck. And I'm like, it's probably like a 120 deer. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, man, good spot. I just don't think I'll be able to sneak on that one. I got to keep going. Oh my gosh. Like,
this one's all you, bud. Yeah. You saw it.
Yeah.
I'll flag you in.
Yep. So, but yeah, so I'd heard about that deer, and ended up kind of, it's a really long story how I ended up getting that deer, but I ended up actually saving some lady's life in a river earlier that year. Unfortunately, her husband died. I jumped in and saved her, but her husband died, and so it's a really shitty deal.
What time of year? Was
in
it
the springtime, in the
like
spring runoff.
Yeah. Like they've got going on now. I mean, just massive flooding.
Exactly. Like massive flooding. Someone was rafting. And I jumped in and was able to save her. But long story short, I'd heard about this deer. I was in the area scouting for it. I ran into somebody who was friends of that person and was like, and so I was talking to them, and they're like, wait, are you? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, oh my gosh, you saved my my friend's life. And I was like, yeah, I heard about this deer. And he's like, let me bring you to someone. And so he brought me to, there was a rancher in the area. And he's like, hey, this is the guy that jumped the whole thing. And he's like, oh, yeah. He's like, yeah, there's been this big deer cutting through my property. And I was like, do you mind if I hunt? He's like, yeah, go for it. And so I was like, it was just like a crazy string of events.
Serendipitous.
I was like looking in that area. And then I went the next, so I was he's like, yeah. They'd seen a deer and it just had no clue like what caliber deer. And the next morning, I went in there, and I don't think that deer had been consistently there because it was just literally, a very small piece, and then there's public access there too. So, and that deer the next morning was there. Me and a buddy went in there and hunted around, didn't see anything, and then as the sun started to come up, started seeing them like a group of 13 bucks. That buck being the biggest, and there were some other really good deer in that. Yeah, there's some other nice bucks in there as well. All went up the hill, and I like ran to the top, and they started funneling by, and I just laid down waiting, and that buck never showed up. So all the other deer were there, and that buck wasn't.
Sixth sense, man.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, well, between me and where I saw him was pretty open, but there's one little cliff and one pine tree, and I just figured, I bet you they bedded. And so it was actually I wasn't counting the other deer. You know, I was just like looking for the big one. And when I snuck down to that spot where I thought he'd be bedded, there was a little buck was like 30, 40 yards away, looked up at me. So I slowly backed out and just waited, like ready to draw. And that big buck knew something was up and just bolted from his bed, but it was a canyon. So he ran across and up the other side, and I grunted, and I was already at full draw. Guessed him at 45 yards, let the arrow rip, and just hit him perfect and watched him pile up.
That's, man, under pressure.
Yeah. Yeah, the like running stop, let it rip, you know.
Especially a buck that big that you know what it is, you know.
Yeah, and you know one thing that saved me too is like as I walked in, I'm always I've got like, what if this happened? What if it? So it wasn't like necessarily like an uneducated guess. Like I ranged the tree every step, like counting down, ranging that rock past it, ranging across the canyon. So I had a really good idea when and if something happened. I was kind of thinking like he would stand up and go. You know, sometimes like that little buck gets hinky and starts looking your way. And I was completely out of sight and thought maybe he'd walk up to that little buck and then maybe just feed out or calm back down. I had no clue, but I was just sitting there ready just in case. Yeah. And he blew out 100 miles an hour and whipped his head back. And by that point, the arrow was already on its way.
That's good. Good tip. Be ranging.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, always be ranging.
Yeah.
That'd be a T-shirt, huh? Always be ranging.
Always be ranging.
Always be ranging.
I like
that.
Now he's got the mouth tap, so he can just range at the same time.
Yeah.
It's a little harder to go.
Yeah, exactly. Can't make any noises anymore. There's no cow calling when you have a...
You're going to have to get the booger whistle going.
Yeah, exactly.
The booger whistle. Is that a thing?
It is for Neville.
You've never heard of the booger whistle? Like when someone has like a booger in their nose and every time they breathe out their nose, like it whistles?
Undoubtedly, you've been on the hillside and done that during elk season, and your buddy's been like, is that an elk bugle? Did you hear that elk bugle?
No, it's just my snot.
Just need
I need to hunt with some sickos more, I guess.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. You hunt with anybody.
Yeah, you don't.
You've got mule deer tags. How much scouting do you, I mean, you're here today, and I would assume that you're probably a pretty busy dude generally. How much scouting do you get to do anymore?
It just depends. Like, there's certain hunts that I scout a lot, and then other ones that I don't ever scout, just maybe e-scout or areas that I've hunted before and just go, okay, I know where I'm going. My wife drew an archery antelope tag, so I'm putting all my scouting effort into that. Because I think antelope is one thing that's like scouting really pays dividends.
For sure.
Whereas like, you know, sometimes mule deer scouting, if it's an early season, is great, but other times, you know, you're just getting really a feel of the land and other things, and I'd rather maybe spend that time if I've got a total of X amount of days. Sometimes I'd rather just say I'm going to use X amount of days when I can shoot something. It honestly depends what it is too, and like the value I put on the tag. But I've been doing quite a bit of antelope scouting this year, and for some reason I was like thinking this year's like this is gonna be like my mule deer year. I'm gonna just go hard on mule deer. I like even tags that were 90% draws. I didn't get for mule deer, so I'm like, it was tough. Like I just had a bad run of getting tags for mule deer. I drew a Nevada tag, but it was my last choice, which is sweet. You know, it's still better than nothing, but. I was like, or second to last choice, but it's a good area.
Has she shot antelope before?
She hasn't. Okay. Nope, she's never shot an antelope, and so she's gonna archery. She went this year. She went all archery in Nevada, elk, deer, everything. Just because, you know, it's like she's like, how do you get tags all the time? I'm like, well, I went all archery to get tags.
Yep.
It's the game you got to play. So she's like, I want tags, and I'm like, all right, it's all archery. Yep. So she's pretty excited about it.
Yeah, you start seeing those, you know, those mule deer in those summer orange coats, you know, and they're just so exposed. You start thinking, maybe there's something to these early season hunts. You know, they're a lot more patternable. Weather's better. I mean, I hate cold weather the older I get. So
yeah, good weather.
Yeah,
patternable bucks. Bachelor groups, like there's a lot of really good things. Bonuses. Yeah, a lot of bonuses.
Yeah, you guys gonna hunt water or spot and stock or?
For her, we're gonna hunt water.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think it's such a good hunt for it
is
for a first bow hunt or for new hunters in general.
Yep.
And antelope are awesome.
Yeah.
Is a Nevada tag then?
It is. Yeah.
Cool. Very cool. You so you just got back from New Zealand, you said?
Yep.
How much? Sorry, you guys can jump at any time. Brady always gets pissed at me. He's like, God, you talk too much. I'm like,
no, I just like to let him go.
How much of the year do you hunt? Like, how many hunts would you say you go on in a year?
A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that answer a lot. That's my kind of answer.
I don't know.
When you can even add them up, that's a good feeling.
Yeah. It's like, it's pretty much year round. Yeah. I mean, I would say like at least 75% of the year.
And you probably like grew up hunting and everything. Did you think you'd be like in this position, like basically this is your living now, it's just hunting?
I mean, I was kind of fairly intentional about it. Like I knew that's what I wanted to do, and so I was just like, that was my plan. I kind of didn't really have another plan. It was like
all in.
Yeah, all in. It was all or nothing for me. So I mean, I'd always hoped for it. You know, it was like I made a plan. In some ways, I made a plan for it, but to actually be doing it, I'm like, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like, I mean, you probably have people ask you, like, how do I get involved in, you know, the industry, or how do I do what you do?
Yeah.
Like, what kind of advice do you give them?
You know, I think one thing I think about a lot is, like, people sometimes see what you're doing, but they didn't see how you got there, right?
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, I want to do that. And then you're like, I mean, the amount of hours and things and, like, just the amount of work that you put in, people don't realize that. Like, I mean, I essentially, like, have 3 full-time jobs right now, and it's a lot to just, like,
manage.
Do. But, you know, everybody just sees, like, you went here and did that, and, like, you don't see the years of, like, grinding. And, like, I essentially had, at one point in my life, I had 3 jobs. One was the one that just, like, I could pay the bills with, which was guiding. And then I had 2 full-time jobs. One was I was an editor for a magazine, and I was essentially 40 hours a week at nights, and I got $0 for it. You know what I mean? I did that for 2 years because I was 20 years old and had no one would hire me for any of that kind of stuff. But I was like, I just wanted to build a badass resume. And then I was like, I went and did all the essentially for solo hunters. Started out, I was like, okay, I had this opportunity, but it was like, all right, it was just hunts that I was already going on. I filmed them myself. I made $0. You know what I mean? Like, it cost me money to go, but it was hunts that I was doing anyways.
Sure.
And had to, like, commit to that on my personal hunts to, you know what I mean? And then, like, editing and doing all that. And it was just like things that I did to build up a resume of, like, experience, and then guiding full time on top of that. And then at that time was still going to school. So it was just like, you know, there's a lot of work in the background that people don't see, and probably, but that's the only way that I know how to do anything, is just, like, you know, work hard at it, I guess.
Yeah. And you do it. I mean, ultimately, you do it. Why? Because you love it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's
like, I mean, I'm like the type. You guys are the same. I'm sure it's like, I don't get tired of hunting.
Yeah.
It's like
we want to hunt all the time around the Southwest, and that's why we push.
Yeah. That's kind of what I've told people. Is it's like, if you really love to hunt, I mean, you're going to be out there doing it anyway, all the time, and, like, eventually, like, it'll find you.
Yeah, exactly.
Your opportunities will find you. I mean, if you're real passionate about that and that's what you want to do, I mean, it'll find you eventually.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you put yourself in the position to be doing it all the time because that's what you're doing, and it just works out. I know, like, a lot of people that or even just friends are like, they're like, dude, I really enjoy hunting, but then to, like, do it to that level, it takes a serious amount of commitment. I think a lot of people can't, like, after like a 7 to 10 day hunt, most guys are, like, wiped. And I'd say, like, my normal season with guiding and everything, I'll be 120 consecutive days, you know? And it's just like that's when you think about it, like, you know, if you're just like, I guide people, and it's like by day 5, they're done. And I'm like, it's just every day for me, you know? Like, it takes a certain kind of person.
Like, I can't even imagine when you were doing solo hunter, just, like, all your hunts, filming yourself. Like, some people don't even realize, like, how hard that is, and just, like, always having the camera on, always talking to the camera, saying what's going on, and doing all that. And then even, like, with your Instagram stories now, like, your recaps, those things are so good.
Oh, thanks, man.
You have to work at that.
Yeah, that's not
that's a lot of work. I think people,
myself
included. I mean, I don't do it on Instagram. I'm like, social media pretty much non-existent. I think I have, 2 or 3 posts a year, but it's so much work.
Yeah, it is. It was like, it's just like anything. It's like, if you're going to do it, you have to commit to it. Otherwise, you aren't going to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way you'd do it if you didn't, like, go ahead of time and say, like, this is what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Otherwise, you just, like, I would always hit. It's like, okay, I can either sneak in and kill this thing with my bow, or I can sneak in and film it and kill it with my bow. And the easy button's like, sneak in and kill it. Yeah. And if I didn't say I can't do that, then I would hit that button every time. Yep. So I just have to, like, if I'm the type of person, like, if I do something, I have to commit to it. And there's been a couple hunts where I've missed out on some of the best deer in my life because of the filming, but I was, like, kind of just proud of myself in the end because I committed to it.
Yeah, you stuck to it.
I don't know. I mean, there's a couple things that I probably should have. But once you go down that slippery slope, you're like, well, then I would just do it every time, and I just had to kind of, like, pick what I'm going to commit to.
Do you still get excited about hunting? I mean, like same level like you felt since you were a kid?
Absolutely, yeah.
You look
especially when it comes. There's certain things that like I don't think I would ever get sick of. Mule deer hunting is one of them. Calling elk in September, and then just like big mountain adventure hunts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's sometimes like some things I don't do as much, but still just really enjoy. You just got to find the time to pick the things that you really want to do, and then anytime I get to do something new, it's really fun. Or hunt a new area, like
new animal.
Yeah, or when I like land a tag that I've been trying for 90% of my life. Like I don't know. It's weird. I mean, I hunt a lot and I hunt a lot of places, but I think people don't know how unlucky in the draws I actually am, because I have got as many points as many places as probably anyone, and I don't know of that many like limited entry tags that I've actually drawn. Very few out of state limited entry tags, maybe 2.
Yeah.
And like almost everything I do is easy to draw or general type areas.
Yeah, because I know you mentioned in the videos that we're filming today, like you'd rather go to a spot that you've hunted like 5 years in a row that's an easy tag that you can draw every year than draw like a limited entry tag.
Oh, absolutely. Like every time you're out there, you when you're sitting at home, you have 0% chance of success, So I would rather have I'll pick up a tag that like I've hunted a lot of areas that just are most people consider shit areas, but it's like, okay, look, I know that my time investment, like I'm going to be out there, there's something, whatever it is, like I know that I can get out there. The more I learn that area, the more I'm going to have success. And then, using that knowledge is kind of like my bonus points and just building success that way. Mm-hmm. I've found a lot of awesome hunts that way. Now things are changing, obviously, everywhere. Like those hunts are actually harder to come by now. But still, I don't know. I kind of gravitate toward those areas where it's like, dude, if you can get a tag in my pocket and I can go and just put in some time, then I'm going to find what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
That's why I've never believed in, leftover tags are leftover for a reason. They're junk tags, they're just shitty. It's like, you put in your time, put in some e-scouting, put a little effort out there, like that, hunt that every single year. Like that's a dream tag to me.
Oh, yeah.
Like being able to hunt the same spot multiple years is a dream.
Absolutely.
And it's like, why not take advantage of it? You're learning about the species you're hunting. You're learning about your tactics. You're learning about just yourself every time you go out there. It's like,
yeah.
I'd rather have that than a dream tag for sure. That's so much pressure.
Oh yeah, exactly.
It's like you only get those once every so often.
And especially if you haven't done any hunts, it's like you don't have the knowledge or like the skill set to when you do draw that limited entry tag to like do it justice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the one thing too. Like growing up in Nevada, guys would draw an elk tag maybe once in their life, and that's their first and only elk hunt. And I was like, I would rather go to some other state and shoot a raghorn every year. And that way when I do get like that whatever tag, I've got 15, 20 years of elk hunting experience, and I can make it happen.
Yeah, you shoot any 6-point in an over-the-counter unit, you're over the moon.
Oh, yeah.
You shoot a 280-inch 6-point on a Nevada tag, you're sick to your stomach.
Exactly.
Son of a bitch.
It's a lot of pressure, too.
It is a lot of pressure.
Yeah, sometimes just those keeping it like sometimes one of my favorite hunts is like just a over-the-counter general mule deer tag that I've got like my dad and someone else that just like going out with people who are like, yeah, I just want to find something and have a good hunt. That's sometimes the fun. And then for me, it's like, all right, I like those tags, and then just going and like proving to myself that I can beat the odds on it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's a 2% success rate or whatever, and it's like, okay, but there are good deer in there. I don't know how many. Yeah, I don't know. I could just go back and be like, how many crap areas I've found big deer in, because people just treat it like there's nothing there or something. I don't know.
I always say struggle gives me purpose on some of those hunts. It's like I enjoy that.
Yeah.
I enjoy pushing myself every single day to grind to find one deer.
Yep.
Might be just low deer numbers, might be a really shitty spot I picked up, but like I enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's fun.
I know. I've been hunting the same spot though for like I shot a good buck one year, and I've hunted it for 5 years now, and then I haven't seen a deer for 3 years, and I'm like,
that's a little different,
maybe I should change it up. But I know there's some deer that I've seen there outside of the season that I know are in there. I just cannot turn them up.
It's that type 2 fun.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you're going to like these areas that are, quote unquote, maybe not so good or less animals, like what are you looking for? Like what's the one thing that you're looking? You want to get away from people, or is there like a certain habitat that you're looking for?
It's a lot of things. I mean, yeah, in many cases, if there's a lot of people there, then I would try to get away from people. Sometimes there's areas where there's a lot of people, and I just look for those overlooked spots. I found some good deer in spots that are just dumb. Like, places that people drive by. I mean, I've literally stalked a deer and watched 4 vehicles, within eyesight, and they just didn't look there. It's like, it happens.
I shot a deer one time with a muzzleloader that I honked the horn with my elbow, trying to get a breech, put a plug on the muzzleloader while I jumped out of the truck to chase it down. He was, 183-inch buck. I shot him 150 yards from the road.
Oh, wow.
But I mean, people overlook places all the time. It happens. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. I look for areas that just have, maybe low densities, because I think a lot of people don't have that, a lot of people don't have that, perseverance, tenacity to keep going when it's just, seems like bad, quote unquote, bad hunting. Yeah. And I never see, something as bad hunting. I'm just perfect. There's no one else here. It's hard to find them. They're here. I just gotta stick it out long enough to make it happen.
Would you rather be out there not seeing animals or be stuck in the office?
Right.
Where do you want to put your effort at? Rather be working harder out there.
Yeah, exactly.
How much e-scouting do you do? You kind of mentioned it. Do you?
Yeah, that's constantly downtime. I was on anytime I'm traveling somewhere or whatever, I just download an area. I mean, I've got pins on places that I've never, you know what I mean? Just I've scouted pretty much most Western units in some way, shape, or form from home, e-scouting. And some cool hunts that I've found have just been literally a random road trip flying over. Yeah. I keep I drop pins as I'm flying on a commercial plane. Dude, that looks nice. Yeah. That looks nice. What unit am I? And then later on, what unit am I at? I'm just constantly scouting, constantly looking for that next cool spot.
You're that guy on the airplane that's hey, can I sit the window seat?
Exactly.
You want to switch seats? I need that window seat bad.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I've done that too, where I'm looking out the window. I'm dude, this looks like decent mule deer habitat. Drop a pin on it, and then look, that's the Henrys. I'm well, I guess I was right.
That's
you
not
know
what I mean?
No shit.
I've even done that just driving on the road too, or in the passenger seat of a vehicle. You're dang, looks like a sick mountain range.
Mm-hmm.
Drop a waypoint, try to check it out later.
Oh yeah.
Try to label those waypoints really quickly, hey, make sure you reference this point so I know, hey, what was that waypoint? Why did I drop it?
Right, exactly.
You find a lot of cool spots that way.
Yeah, we just had an e-scouting podcast. Was that our last one?
Yeah.
Are you one of those guys that has your plan completely e-scouted out on your computer before even stepping foot of it, or you have maybe a couple waypoints and then? Or
you trail and just have 2.
And you kind of get out your boots on the ground and start to figure shit out.
Yeah, I'm a mixture of both. I think I have pins in places, but it's more I don't know. I'm kind of pin paranoid too. I feel people can just it's a little
get buried.
Yeah.
I start with 150
paralysis by analysis.
Yeah. So I in some ways I like to highlight areas and certain things, and then kind of just and then I hit a hard preview most of the time when I get there. Mm-hmm. But I have a pretty good idea. And a lot of times, there's been hunts where, literally, it's just poured in. I had a good tag that I drew one year. I just had no time to scout. Poured over, just spent extra time e-scouting, and ended up finding a deer that, just based on topography and habitat, that was one of the bigger deer in the units, because I ran into a lot of people that had been watching it for a long time. But to be able to go in cold turkey and find a deer that guys had spent all summer looking for was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, confirmation of your process.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's cool. What do you so for antelope hunt, I assume you're looking for water, e-scouting mostly?
Mostly water, some of that flat habitat, but in desert country I start with water. Mm-hmm. I've got a couple antelope tags in places where there's a lot of water. So actually I kind of switch it up, and I try to find that fringe antelope habitat where I've got broken country. Because I was spot and stalk. I've been super successful spot and stalk antelope hunting, just by trophy picking the country over the you don't see as many antelope, but at least I know when I find one I can get in and get close.
Yeah, you're looking for habitat that's approachable.
Approachable
right?
habitat, and there's fewer antelope, but for me it's just it works with my style. Whereas I can find those big open places where I'm gonna see 900 antelope a day, but what's it matter?
Can't
I
close
just
to
can't
them.
get close enough.
Yeah, that's a good tip.
Yeah.
You you've hunted all over, I think, right? Are there species adventure still for you on that you're like really you want to do?
I mean, I love sheep hunting and any kind of sheep hunting, and I like that adventure, and I think that like there's some cool stuff abroad in Asia mostly that I'd like to do, just some random things that, you know, dream hunts and whatever, and still some stuff in North America I'd like to hunt, you know, sheep. And for some reason, I don't know, I really want to go chase like a muskox. I just think they're the coolest. Like, I know it's not like a hard hunt, but
they're just
I'm like, they're such a, it's like, I don't know. You're like, it's literally going and hunting a dinosaur, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just think they're the coolest. I think they're just so cool.
Well, I think it's the process too, right?
Yep.
It's the getting up there. It's riding along on the back of a snow machine for miles and miles and miles. And
it's
like,
just like a torture test of some sort. Yeah, you're kind of like, and like, okay, sneaking up on them, probably not difficult. Shooting them, not difficult. Like, that's not the whole culmination of it. But like, they're a cool animal in a place that, why the hell would you go there otherwise?
Why did they evolve to live there?
Yeah, exactly. You're literally going back in time and seeing something that very few people can see. So that's something that I'll probably do in the future, I would hope.
You gonna hunt it with a knife like that guy? What was
that
show?
Somebody hunted one with a knife?
Yeah, did you not see it?
No.
What was that show? Do you
Alone,
know?
yeah.
Alone.
Yeah, he like shot it with a bow and then like stabbed it with a knife or something.
Shot it with
a muskox?
Yeah, shot it with a bow and it wasn't quite dead.
Did he have a tag for that?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure he did. But then he snuck up on it and knifed it.
Wow.
Stuck it in the ribs. Twice, I think.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah,
Sounds like
like jumped
you
on,
haven't seen that?
like jumped on its
incredible.
back like a
No, like ran in like prison. Like it was like, you know those movies when they like prison shank someone. It's like they just keep passing the shiv.
Exactly.
It was
what
exactly
it
like he's just running by like shanking this thing, like just shivving it.
Yeah. And he made it like what the total days was 100 and some days or something. Yeah, he stayed out there by himself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Did
One
he
day
just like cut it open and just live inside it?
No, he built like he had this rock
Luke
shelter.
Skywalker style.
That was amazing. That guy was incredible.
Well, I know what I'm doing the rest of the day at the office. Cue that up.
Pull that up.
I came upstairs one day from my office, and I think my oldest kid was like, "Dude, you're not going to believe what I just saw." He was like, "I just saw this guy kill a muskox with a knife," and I was like, "What? No way!" Pulled it up. So we watched. Then I got wrapped up in it, and I watched the whole season. But
that's what we need in here is a TV so we can run shit back. I want to see it right now. A live preview.
Yeah. Well, we expect to see you knife one then.
All right, I'll give it a try.
Or spear maybe, huh?
How'd you injure your left wrist?
Well, it's a funny story. I was knifing a muskox. Prison shanked a muskox. Oh, that's crazy.
Has there ever been a hunt that's not lived up to the hype that you've been on? It's like, I did it once. I'm good enough.
Arizona.
I mean, all hunts are fun, but like.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think we've actually talked about this before, but one of my like all-time dream hunts was hunting Marco Polo sheep.
Yeah, I remember. We talked about that.
And like, I think I'd been warned that like sometimes the hunt itself isn't what you're expecting. And like, even though I'd been warned that, I kind of went in like thinking it'd be different. And it's just because for me, it's not just shooting something. Like I actually, in a weird way, I would rather like have a good hunt and not shoot something than shoot something and have a bad hunt.
Yeah.
So I felt like I was gypped of it was still an adventure, but like I felt like I was kind of like it was missing something, and it was missing like a little element that I just kind of felt like kind of bummed that I didn't get to experience, and I would go back kind of seeking that certain experience. I don't know what it is, like just the.
What happened on this hunt?
Well, I mean, it was like a lot of travel delays and weird things, and then ended up like essentially like getting into camp, and the guy being like, you know, we'd set it up where I was kind of going to be able to just do my own thing with a couple guys, and like I don't know what happened, but they're pretty much like, you have one day to kill something, we're leaving.
What?
Yeah.
A hunt like that, having one day.
That's going to be you, Brady, when you go there this year.
I know. I'd be so stressed.
Yeah, like it was
I was working on some of my final paperwork last night.
Sweating
like,
right now.
Making sure I didn't like misspell like a serial number on my gun. And
oh yeah, and make sure you do not bring too much ammo.
I was gonna bring 40 rounds.
I don't know the limit.
Yeah.
But is it 40?
I don't know what the limit is. I just put 40.
Right. I know. So I thought whatever I put on the paper was okay, and that's not the case.
Okay. I'll confirm that.
I confirm that.
One round.
I think
that's all I need, right?
It might be 40. You might be. I don't think I brought more than 40 though, so I don't.
40 seems like a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's too.
Ton.
But the other thing is like
a sheep?
No, but what happens is like, I mean, when I finally got my gun, dude, I had to completely recite the thing. It was so jacked.
Really?
Yeah, and you're sighting at a really high elevation with like not a very, I mean, not that you can't, but like it's not a real good target you're sighting. You know what I mean? Like I brought bring your own target. You know, like I had like a couple paper targets just in case, and I was like glad I did. And then try to find something that you can actually attach the target to. You know, that's big.
So was it the weather delays? That's why you got 1 day hunting, or just like some weird shit happened?
Oh no,
you got 1 day.
It was somebody in the. So when I flew out, I had I don't know what happened, but somebody in the San Francisco airport took my gun and put it in customs. They aren't supposed to do that. Like, it was checked through, everything was right. They saw a firearm, they pulled it off the plane and put it in some back customs office, exiting the country, which is what they did was not legal. And as a third party, like, it wasn't customs, it wasn't TSA, it was like probably somebody that's like, ooh, gun, and had no clue. And I was filming the hunt for a firearms company, so I had to use that rifle because it was like it wasn't like I could just go like I would have just borrowed and I would have been fine like getting out there and hunting with like a old AK whatever. Like I don't care. Like I would have been
open sights.
I mean, it wouldn't have been awesome, but I would I would have done whatever I needed to get out in the field. But it just wasn't an option, because it was like the only reason I was afforded that opportunity was because I was doing it, for a company to make a film, which is like sweet, but there's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Like, dude. So that was missing, and we were waiting along. Like, no, it was completely lost. Like, I had special insurance and they hired somebody to try to find it. That person had no clue where it was. They were pretty much just like, it's gone forever.
That's my biggest nightmare.
And then somebody in customs.
It's like I lost my baby,
Oh yeah, like. And then somebody in customs was walking through. They worked in customs. Like, what is this? Looked at the name tag. Was like, oh, I follow that guy on Instagram. Sent me a message on Instagram, and was like, I think I found a gun of yours. And I was like, dude, you just saved me. And then they had to cut. I had locks on it. And one travel tip, I don't know if you do this, but I always put like 6 locks in my gun case. So if anyone along the way has to cut it, they can't send it unless it's locked. Yep. So there's extra locks in there because it was like the only reason that I got that gun was because I had extra locks.
Good.
So I got my
dude. I put a bag of locks, and then I do a combination locks, key lock, everything. Like, it doesn't, because you'll run into somewhere and it doesn't matter what the actual rules are. Whatever they think the rules are the rules.
That's the rules.
So they're like, oh, no combination locks. I've run into that. Because like, I have it printed up. You can use
any locks. You don't have to use TSA approved locks, but a lot of times I do say TSA approved. So I'm already thinking like I should just switch over to TSA approved just for this.
So I've got TSA approved locks. I've got non-TSA approved combination locks, and then I've got keyed non-TSA padlocks. No matter what I run into, and then also have a lock, a separate case and lock for your ammunition. Because when you leave the U.S., it's one rule, and when you get somewhere else, it's another rule. Different. So ammo can with a padlock.
And you never know when people go in your bags, they take it out. Like, oh, now you're not legal because now it's separate or whatever.
Yep. And so I lock all that stuff up and then just deal with it and use my little system of locks because I travel a lot of places where people don't actually know the rules.
Yeah, TSA never knows the rules.
So you were sitting there the whole time just waiting for your gun?
Yeah.
Did you find
gunless?
sheep?
What?
Did you find some sheep?
We did, yeah. We found some sheep, got a good ram. But yeah, I just wanted to, I mean, I guess all in all, like, there was days and it was a lot of travel. It was like, it took a long time to get to where the sheep were at. That was like 5 days of travel. Once that's why it's just like, it's logistically, like, once things start getting delayed, then, you just like bummer. And I just really wanted to experience more of the hunt.
You want to soak it up.
Right.
How they hunt, like what the species is like, what's the tactics.
I wanted to look over a lot of ram, and I just didn't have that opportunity. But I ended up with a good ram. Like, it worked out, but it wasn't. I wasn't there to just kill a sheep. I really wanted to do the other stuff too.
Yeah. So. Sometimes it's like that.
Yep.
You just and I think it goes back to your expectations and.
Right.
I mean, for me, I've had hunts that, I expected a lot and it didn't quite work out the way I wanted it to. Same thing. I mean, I had a mountain goat tag and it just wasn't the hunt that I wanted it to be, It was a good hunt. I still had a great hunt. It just, what I wanted it to be in my mind was this grandiose thing, So it was just kind of I don't know. So now I'm looking for a chance. I want to do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's the hard part about like those limited entry tag. You put so much pressure and emphasis on like, it took me so long to draw.
Years.
I need to do this and that. And it's like, man, you kind of lose a little bit of the, I don't know, you lose a little bit when you start thinking like that, and it's really hard not to do.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, I don't know. And the other thing is like, yeah, just because you waited a long time doesn't make it. Sometimes you just like, you gotta like have the right mindset, the right expectations.
Yeah, it's hard to keep perspective, but it's definitely a necessity. To just try to remember what it is, you know, and enjoy it for what it is, you know, the environment, the species, you know, make the most of it.
Don't forget that this year in Utah trail.
I have a Utah elk tag.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
First bull you see, shoot it. Oh, shit, I thought it was in Colorado over the counter.
So used to that.
So we better touch on quick before, I know they're coming in here saying you got to go out and do some Q&A stuff for Instagram.
Coming in hot.
A new platform that we just released is Outdoor Class, and you're on there.
I am, yeah. Did a course on mule deer hunting, and I got some other courses in the pipe. So,
have you always enjoyed like helping people? Like that's why this was a good platform to, you know, inspire people to do something and just educate them on something you're passionate about.
Yeah, I think for me, it's like I feel really fortunate that I get to spend pretty much as much time as I want out hunting, and by doing that, like I've learned so much. And then I also like to be able to like, all right, I kind of feel like it's an obligation to me to share what I know because I don't know. It's like if I didn't have that, I kind of think of it like if I had chose some other path in life, and I was like, man, I got 1 week to go out and hunt mule deer. But it's like I'd want to make the most out of that 1 week. And just to have a couple little things that took me forever to learn on my own, like if you can just kind of like absorb that through this course, then I think that it's a win for me. You know, I don't think that it's, and I just think like, you know, it's just making the time that you do have more effective and more valuable.
So in this course, you just covering basically everything mule deer?
Yeah, well, what I did was my thought was like the topic is endless. I could probably do 15 more courses on mule deer, but what I wanted to do is kind of in this particular course teach people about the way that I think about hunting and especially mule deer hunting. And for me, it starts with kind of really understanding the animal, because I think that if you understand mule deer and what they do and the little nuances that they have and just why they are the way they are, then you can kind of take that and go, okay, I've got a tag in the plains in September, or I've got a mountain hunt in November, or I've got whatever. So it doesn't matter. Like if you completely understand what mule deer are doing throughout the entire year and why they do what they do, then wherever you go, you're able to kind of use those tactics to exploit their weaknesses. Like just knowing the way a mule deer is and what they do, you know. And I think that like, so my kind of whole goal with that was just kind of like teaching people the way that I think about or go about the hunting. So I kind of created this idea of like 3-stage advantage tactics. So it's first just understanding the behavior, then building out like a way to exploit that behavior, and then kind of taking that into the field.
Nice. How many episodes is it?
So it's one course and there's essentially 13 separate videos. I think 13 or 14, something like that.
And you take that, I think I looked at some information like from how to get a tag all the way through, you know, tips and tactics and methodology, right?
Yep. Yeah, kind of all encompassing, because it's like, you know, you can have all the mule deer knowledge in the world, but if you don't have a tag in your pocket, you can't navigate that system, it's no good. And then, you know, if you've only got, and then even just e-scouting and like, all right, well, now I've got a tag, but I live in, it doesn't matter. If I live in Nevada and I've got a Wyoming deer tag, maybe it's pretty hard to justify, especially with gas prices, like I'm going to go out and scout that, right? So like, how do I set up? How do I think about this hunt? Like, how do I get ready for it? And then I go through and break down like mule deer in every season. So August, September, October, November, and essentially December, January, whichever one. And then so you can kind of match those tactics up and the things that deer are doing those times a year based on your tag.
Yeah, I mean, for somebody that's, you know, even a seasoned hunter, you know, down to like the guy that's just looking to get into it, you know, right, never hunted before.
Yep.
I mean, what a cool resource to, you know, cut the line, if you will, you know, like
exactly.
Get ahead.
Yep.
Especially when you can like download them at any device, watch it any time, basically take it in the field with you if you wanted to, and just soak up that knowledge real time. Like, oh, what did he say about that? I'm going to go back and watch that little episode really quick and check it out.
Yeah, that's what, like, for me, I had downloaded a bunch of other people's courses when I was flying down here and just watching them on the plane. Because the other cool thing is, like, doesn't matter how much you've been hunting, right? One thing that I always find is, like, something like this, right, where it's, like, a bunch of guys that love hunting and have figured out a lot of stuff. And you'll be talking, and you've got, like, you're like, yeah, I do that same thing. And it's like we both came to that conclusion our own separate ways through our own paths, yet there's there's a reason that tactic works for the two of us is because it works, right? And it's just like, that's the simplest form of like, there's a lot of people that maybe have a lot of experience, and it really validates, like, whether you're a guy that's just getting into it, you're like, oh, well, I've been hunting mule deer my whole life. But in some ways it validates certain tactics that you do and lets you know, like, I'm out there, I'm doing something right. Because these other people also came to this conclusion on their own through whatever experiences they've had.
So you can like lean back on those past experiences, like, oh, yep, like I said, I'm doing something right, so I should continue doing this because it's working for other people.
Exactly, yeah.
But what do you think the one piece of advice you could give for any type of hunting? I mean, you've obviously been pretty successful, and I'm sure you cover this in the course, but kind of like one piece of advice that you could give a hunter that like lead to be more successful out in the field.
Ooh, one piece of advice. I mean, I don't know.
Just one.
Yeah.
Just one, huh?
I mean, I think that the piece of advice is just like kind of, in some ways, I kind of touched on this in the course, but like understanding your strengths as a hunter too, like really being like realistic of like, this is what I want to do or am good at. You know, because I think like I get people ask me all the time, like, hey, I'm whatever. And my strength is not being super patient, right? So it's like, I don't plan my hunts based around being patient because I know I'm really bad at it.
Yeah.
So like, hey, I really like glassing. So I, you know, like when I'm muleling, so I find those areas where I can glass. But I also I'm actually pretty, like, I've got a lot of experience hunting thick country too. So there are times where I was like, dude, I'll go and still hunt the crap out of something because I know a lot of people don't like to do that, but I'm good at it. So, you know, just playing to your strengths. Like, everybody's got those strengths. I met some dude when I was coos deer hunting. The first year I went down there, and this was probably like 18 years ago. I don't know. It was a long time ago. And like, this guy was showing me picture after picture after picture of big buck he killed, right? And he shot them all on a river bottom from a tree stand because he was like from Iowa. Yeah. And he just like would go to Arizona every year and shoot giant coos deer during the rut, rattling, calling from a tree stand. I was like, good on you, dude. Yeah. Like, it works, but I'm never going to do that. You know, like, so it's just like understanding your strengths too, and just kind of, and then the other bit of advice would be like, the more you know about like just gaining knowledge on those animals is key. Like, I kind of learned that through guiding, is like, you know, the best guides or whatever. Like, I could go to any area in the country and find elk really fast and kill elk really quick because I just know elk so well. Like, it doesn't matter if it's an over-the-counter area, whatever. It's like, I know elk well enough to go kill an elk. I feel confident, like, I can go kill an elk anywhere because I just know elk so well. You know, so just like putting that emphasis on the knowledge of the animal is pretty key.
Those are both great pieces of advice.
Great.
I mean, you knocked it out of the park.
My God, those were good.
It's like he's done this before or something.
Once or twice.
No,
playing to your strengths is definitely.
Yeah, because I mean, people think that because this is the way Brady hunts, or this is the way I hunt, that's the way I need to hunt. But like, you need to hunt in the way that works for you. I mean, I'm pretty patient. I'm not the sneakiest, you know. So like, I can sit on a water hole. I can sit there for days and just still as can be. But you know, I'm probably not the sneakiest guy. You know, I'm not the most like quiet and.
It's time to bust out that tree stand for your elk hunt.
Yeah, that's the thing, man.
Saddle.
Yeah, but that's a great tip. Evaluate yourself. Like, evaluate your own strengths. Yeah. You know, and utilize those.
And I think that too will then make that hunt more enjoyable for you, right? Because I think a lot of people are doing something that maybe obviously is not their strength, so then that hunt's not as fun.
Well, it'll make you more successful, and there's nothing more fun than finding success.
Right.
Yep.
That's why you're out there ultimately. Yeah. So that's a great piece of advice. We appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks.
That's too bad we only had you for an hour. We could keep going.
Oh, yeah.
I know. I think we're just scratching the surface right now.
I know.
It's like we're just getting to the good stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to learn any more mule deer tactics, outdoor class, you have your course on there.
Yep.
Anything else you want to shout out?
Yeah, I mean, I've got my podcast, Live Wild podcast, so check that out. Lots of great tips and tactics. We do a few call-in shows. It's just a lot of fun. And like, I think it's, you know, it's a great way to just, if there's any, you know, I think from beginner to advanced level tactics, there's something for everyone. And I pepper in a few hunting stories for that entertainment factor. Yep. So you're like, hey, I live wherever. I don't need to know about hunting elk. Like, I'm just never going to, whatever. Well, there's still some really fun stories that I get to tell on there too.
Nice. Yeah, it was awesome having you on.
Yeah, thanks.
You probably have a podcast studio though, huh? Not a sweet tent.
Yeah.
No, this is actually
Like a
better than my
secondhand
setup.
table.
Mine's like mostly in the car with the same setup. So my setup's pretty janky, but I
Nice.
wish I had some good. It's like in the garage most of the time on a bucket. So.
I'm really disappointed. The longer we've used this tent, the less it smells like campfire.
Oh yeah,
We're definitely losing the campfire smell in here. We need to refresh that.
You'll fire it up again.
Campfire and asshole smell is starting to get out of here.
Somebody can leave some old socks in here.
Exactly. I only got some old socks trail.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks again. Feel free to stop
Thank
by
you guys.
anytime.
Yeah.
We
Awesome.
appreciate
It
it.
was fun.